Okay, so this is the final review. I'm going to work problems 1 through 10 in this section. The first problem says to graph this function, the absolute value of -9 minus x. And to me, the hardest part of that is going to be remembering how to get to absolute value on your calculator. Another thing is going to be that this one looks a tiny bit different just because it has, your graphs are going from -18 to +18 on your y-axis and also on your x-axis. So you might want to adjust your window on your graphing calculator to do that. So it doesn't really matter how you get to the absolute value function, but if you want to do, I like to do second and then hit the 0 button, and then it will bring up ABS parentheses, and that's my absolute value. So the first thing I would do is go to my y equals. Then I want to do this to get an absolute value to come in, up, and then I can type in what I need to. I also know that you can find absolute value under the math button as well. Let's go really quick to our graphing calculator. So I'm going to go to y equals and clear this out. We want to do the absolute value. So I said do second 0 and hit enter. And there's my absolute value. I'm taking the absolute value of -9. You want to be real careful not to type in -9. If you would say negative, use the negative button. So -9, then type in minus x. Sometimes it messes up this calculator if you do a negative instead of a minus. And so that's all I need. I'm going to arrow over. I can go ahead and look at the graph if I want to. And you'll notice that this one's a little bit different than what's on your screen. So I could go to just my window and just mess with my x minimum, make it a -18, x maximum, make it a +18, y minimum, -18, y maximum, +18. And then my graph will look a lot more like what it does on the choices. And so it looks like it's facing up. It's definitely been shifted over to the left. And so really we could look at our table and make sure there's some points on there if we wanted to, but really there's only one good option here, and it's pretty clear that when you look at A, that is the correct answer. Okay. Number 2 says, to find the function value, find f of 0 when f of x is equal to x squared plus 2x plus 6. Okay, so all they're asking you to do here on this one is whenever you see an x, they're wanting you to plug in a 0 there. So whenever I see an x, I'm leaving that x out. I'm just writing down everything else, because they want me to find f of 0, so I would put zeros in those places where the x's are. And so that 0 squared plus 2 times 0 plus 6 ends up being 6, which is why D is the correct answer on that one. When we're trying to tell if something's a function or not using a graph, given a graph rather, we always want to use the vertical line test. And what that means, using that test, if you draw a straight line through your function, you can see our functions down here at the bottom, and you use a vertical line, doesn't matter where you draw that vertical line, it should only hit the function one time if it's a function. If it's not a function, it will hit it more than once. So this is a function because it only hits it one time when we do our vertical line test. Okay. So the next problem is a system of equations. And so I'm going to write the steps for the calculator just in case you need them. But the first thing we want to do is we want to put this in the graphing calculator. So we would want to put a matrix in the graphing calculator. So we would type second x -1 or x inverse. I'm going to go to the graphing calculator with you in just a minute and show you these steps. So second x -1, we'll pull up our matrix. We're going to go over to edit, And we're going to want to put in a matrix that is, so an inner. This is going to pull up matrix A. We're going to want to put in a matrix that is a 3 by 4, 3 rows, 4 columns. And so we've got 5x plus 3y plus 1z equals 23. So 5x plus 3y, 1z is equal to 23. They do have to be lined up like this. X's, y's, z's, and then your answer. 3x minus 4y minus 1z is equal to negative 3. 2x plus 1y plus 4z is equal to negative 6. Okay, those are the things that you're going to want to type in the calculator. So I'm going to go there now real quick and let's just get this typed in. So I'm doing second, x negative 1 brings up my matrix. I'm going to scroll over to edit. I'm going to hit enter, and this is a 3 by 4. Okay, typing in our matrix, so 5, 3y, 1z is equal to 23. Go to the next row, 3x, and we would say minus 4y, but you would type in, it is a negative 4 as your coefficient, negative 1z, and negative 3. It's equal to negative 3. On the next row, we have 2x plus 1y plus 4z is equal to negative 6. Okay, so we have our matrix typed in. You always want to make sure you go back over it, just kind of eyeball it, make sure that you got all of the things entered correctly. I'm going to hit second mode to get out of that screen next. So I hit second mode. Okay, then I'm wanting it to calculate this for me. So I'm going to do second, x negative 1, or x inverse. I'm going to go over to math this time. I'm going to go down to RREF, and then I'm going to hit enter. And this is going to come up on my screen. And now I need to go grab the matrix A to put in there. So I would do second x negative 1 again, and this time I just hit enter, and it's going to do RREF of matrix A, and I do like to close off my parentheses, but when you do that, you're going to get an answer. I'm fixing to go there on the calculator and show you in just a minute, but you should have 1s on your diagonal. And your answer should be right here. This should be your x, this is your y, and this is your z. So let's go to the calculator and finish this problem real quick. So we went second, inverse, x inverse. We're going to go over to math. We're going to go down to RREF. You want the one that has 2 R's. Enter. Second, matrix. We're going to go over to... No, we don't need to go over it all. Sorry, we want to pick matrix A, so we just hit enter. And then we want to close off our parentheses, and we want to hit enter. See, we've got our 1s on our diagonal, and you can see that the answer 3, 4, negative 4 shows up. So x is 3, y is 4, z is negative 4, which is going to be this first answer, 3, 4, negative 4. This is your x, y, and z. Those are the points that, those are the numbers that will work and solve every one of these equations. For the function represented in the graph, find the range. Remember that range answers the question, what can y be? Should always start at the bottom and go up. Okay, so if I start at the bottom and I go up, I have nothing on my graph until I get to about right here. And I'm looking over here, and x is y is negative 3 right there. If I keep going up, I still have stuff on my graph until I get to about right here. and y is 2 right there. And so I have points from -3 to 2. And it could be equal to those things. That's why we have brackets instead of parentheses. And so that's going to be our answer, -3 to 2. That's what our range is. The first thing I would do to solve this problem, if we're wanting to, I think the majority of you are going to solve this for y so that you can look and see what the line is going to look like first. And so if I start out with something that says 4x minus 7y is greater than -5, if I'm solving for y, I'm going to want to subtract 4x from both sides. I would get -7y is greater than -4x minus 5. Remember that when you're solving an inequality, if you have to multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to switch your sign. So I am going to have to divide by a -7. So that's going to force this to turn directions and be a less than sign. These are going to cancel out, so y is less than. A negative divided by negative is positive, so 4/7 x, negative divided by negative again, plus 5/7. And so if I type this in my calculator, y equals 4/7 x plus 5/7, I can at least see if the line's going up or down. Now I know that the slope is positive, so it should be going up, but we're just going to clarify that on the graphing calculator. So if we go to y equals, and we type in 4/7, x plus 5/7. Look at the graph of that. You can tell that it's going up. Another thing I could do is I could go ahead and get a couple of points. If I was having to graph it by hand, I could go to second table and get a couple of points that I could put on the graph. When you go here, we go back to our paper, you can tell that both of these lines are the same. So A is going down. That's not going to be it. D is also going down. So our line was going up. So I know that it is either B or C now. The next thing you want to do is you want to pick a test point. So I know that it either has to be this one or this one. I'm going to pick, if the line does not go through 0, 0, kind of looks like on this one it might go through 0, 0. This one it definitely doesn't. So I'm going to pick a test point, and maybe this line is a little bit stretched up or down compared to this one. But regardless, we need to pick its test point. It should, I'm going to pick 0, 0 for my test point. So that means that I'm going to come right here and I'm going to plug in 0 for y, and I'm also going to plug in 0 for x. And so 0 is less than, well, 4/7 times 0 is just 0. So I want to answer, is 0 less than 5/7? And the answer is yes. So the point 0, 0, which on this graph is right here, on this graph, it looks like it would be on the line, should be colored in. So the one that is clearly colored in is C, so that's going to be the right answer here. Another thing I want to point out is that all these lines are dotted and not filled in because we don't have a symbol that has the equal to part with it. So it would be a dash dotted line. So we're going to say C on that one. Okay, this says a ladder is resting against a wall. The top of the ladder touches the wall at a height of 9 feet. Got this ladder. This is 9 feet. It says find the length of the ladder if the length is 3 feet more than its distance from the wall. So that means that this x would be the distance from the ladder to the wall, and then the ladder would be x plus 3 because it's 3 feet more than that. So you want to use the Pythagorean theorem here. a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A and b have to be the legs of the triangle. They have to be the shortest side, so they would be the 9 and the x. So we would say 9 squared plus x squared is equal to, or you could say x squared plus 9 squared, that doesn't matter. But the c has to be the hypotenuse because it's the longest side. So we could kind of start simplifying this. 81 plus x squared is equal to x plus 3 times x plus 3 because we're squaring it. One of the most common mistakes people are going to make is they're just going to say that this is x squared plus 9 and they're going to solve it that way, but it's not. You actually have to multiply it out using FOIL. We would get x squared plus 3x plus 3x plus 9, and so 81 is equal to 81 plus x squared is equal to x squared plus 6x, if we put both of these together, plus 9. I'm going to subtract x squared from both sides of our equal sign, so 81 is equal to 6x plus 9, because those are going to end up going away, turning into 0. Subtract 9 from both sides, so 72 is equal to 6x. Divide by 6, and x ends up being 12. So you need to make yourself a really big note here that says answer the question, because 12 represents the length of the ladder to the wall, or the distance from the ladder to the wall. The question is find the length of the ladder. So we need to do x plus 3, which is going to give us 12 plus 3, which is 15. So 15 feet ends up being the right answer. Make sure you answer the question. I don't know what you need to do here, but make yourself a very big note. Find the domain. Write interval notation for the answer. We know we have a problem in the domain whenever x squared plus 2x, or the denominator, is not allowed to be equal to 0. Creates a problem. So you want to factor it. I know I can pull an x out of both of these terms, and we want to find what's going to make that equal 0. If we take an x out of x squared, we're left with x. If we take an x out of 2x, we're left with 2. And so that means that x cannot be 0, and x plus 2 cannot be 0. So we would subtract 2. So x is not equal to negative 2 or 0. So we're okay from negative infinity, and you have to choose the first one you would come to. Negative 2 is smaller, so you would come to that first on the number line. So we're good from negative infinity to negative 2. We're good again from negative 2 to 0. We're good again from 0 to infinity. Okay, and number 8, that's why that right answer is C on that one. Number 9, for the function f, construct and simplify the difference quotient. Okay, we've got 7x squared plus 8x. In this problem, what we're wanting to do is plug it in here. So really quickly, I'm going to write down the minus that came from right here. I'm going to write down f of x. F of x, they tell me f of x is 7x squared plus 8x. So I know that this would be 7x squared plus 8x. That's this part. Okay, it's pretty easy for me to do the bottom, which is h. Took care of that. Now I want to take care of this part. So what you would want to do is, I'm taking the x's out, so 7 times blank squared plus 8 times blank. And in that place, they tell me that they want me to plug in an x plus h. So that's what goes right here. Now I've taken care of this part too. In class, we talked about the fact that we went ahead and did the work for x plus h squared, and we got x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. And so that made our work a little bit easier when we were trying to multiply this out, because x plus h squared is just x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. And we went ahead and plugged that in. Plus 8 times x plus h minus 7x squared plus 8x all over h. Then you want to take this and multiply this times each term. You want to use the distributive property all the way through. Just even the negative needs to get distributed. So we're going to end up with 7x squared plus 14xh plus 7h squared plus 8x plus 8h minus 7x squared plus, the minus needs to go with both of these, minus 8x all over h. You should at this point get some things that are going to start canceling out. So 7x squared minus 7x squared. 8x minus 8x should go away. And now we can break this down into 14xh over h plus 7h squared over h plus 8h over h. Well, these are going to cancel out. These are going to cancel out. One of these h's takes away one of these h's. We would still have one left. And so 14x plus 7h plus 8 would be our correct answer, which is B. Number 10, which is the last one we're going to go over in this segment, says to graph the function f of x is equal to the square root of x plus 1. So I'm just going to write a note here, because we're going to go to our graphing calculator. We're going to type this in, but we want to really slow down. We are going from negative 20 to positive 20. But these graphs look almost identical, so you need to slow down. It looks like this one's been shifted to the left a little bit. This one's been shifted to the right. This one's been shifted to the left. It is a plus 1 underneath the square root, so it should be shifted to the left. It should be opposite of what we think. But make sure that you really slow down when you're coming back and writing your answer. You could also plug in some points if you want to, but if I go to y equals and I type in the square root of x minus 1, let's back up just a minute. Let's do x plus 1. Okay, and I hit graph. I mean, you can tell that it's been shifted to the left just a little bit. I could go to my window and change these to negative 20, positive 20. I don't think it's going to change the look of my graph a lot, but if I wanted it to look exactly the same, negative 20 for my x minimum, for my x maximum with positive 20, negative 20 for my y min, and positive 20 for my y max. Go back and eyeball the graph. It does look like it's been shifted to the left 1. So when we write our answer, it is B. A looks like it's been shifted to the right 1. Looks like our point's over here. B looks like your point's on the other side. So B ends up being the correct answer. Just slow down and make sure you're getting the correct graph on that one.